Michael, and I also talked to Michael during the time that he was rehearsing for the concert, and I saw no signs of anything wrong. And as far as Dr. Murray having that groggy sound that Michael was, I've never seen Michael like that, of all the times that I've seen him.
There are some losses that time simply cannot make easier. For Katherine Jackson, losing her son Michael was never just the death of one of the most famous entertainers in history. It was the loss of her child, the son she watched grow up, the son she supported through decades of fame, pressure, controversy, and unimaginable attention.
If I look back and think about this a year from now, I don't think it will ever end it with me, because there's not a day that passed that I don't think about my son. It's not a day that passed that tears don't fall.
And even years after Michael's death, Katherine continued to speak about him with the same pain a mother feels when talking about someone who should still be here. But what makes this story even more heartbreaking is what happened in the final days of Michael's life. The people he trusted, the doctor who was supposed to protect him, and the devastating chain of events that ended with his death.
After Michael passed, we hired one of his security guards, and he was telling me about Michael. When Michael hired him, he told him, one thing I want you to do, always be nice to my fans. Because some of these celebrities have security guards and they push the fans back and they treat them real rough. And he said, don't hurt them. And he would always tell him, if it wasn't for my fans, I wouldn't be where I am. And it's the truth. And I loved them. Not only for that, but I just loved them because Michael just loved everybody. He's so misunderstood, unless some people don't want to understand him. That's all it is. He never molested anybody, and he never did the bad things that they try to say he did. He was all about love and peace, happiness.
Katherine Jackson has continued to speak about how deeply she missed him. And listening to her talk about Michael, there is a noticeable difference between the way the world remembered him and the way his mother remembered him. To millions of people, Michael Jackson was a superstar. To Katherine, he was simply her son, the person she knew long before the stadiums, the records, the awards, and the cameras. That is what makes her memories of him so emotional, because underneath the legend was still the same person she had spent her entire life loving. And when that person was suddenly taken away, there was no amount of fame or money that could make the loss easier.
Since he's been gone, many days I go back to his first cry from the doctor slapping him on his butt until his death. All his memories were fond.
Katherine Jackson's anger was also focused on the people who were around Michael during his final days. One name kept coming up, Dr. Conrad Murray. Murray was the personal physician caring for Michael when he died on June 25, 2009. And Katherine later spoke about how disturbing it was to hear claims about Murray comforting her and her children after Michael's death.
Dr. Murray selling his stories? To me, no, it's not fair. He shouldn't be allowed to do it. He shouldn't be allowed to make money off of what he's done wrong. That's what angers me. It's not right. He had a conversation with me during the day of Michael's passing, and how he tried to console the children and me. That didn't happen. I don't know where that came from. I didn't even know who Dr. Murray was. I had never met him until someone at the hospital told me later that that's Dr. Murray.
She said she did not even know him. To Katherine, that mattered, because Michael had trusted the people around him, and when something went wrong, that trust suddenly became part of a much bigger and much darker story.
The lies that they were telling, I think everybody could see that they were lies, because they didn't have a leg to stand on. Because Dr. Murray, no matter how you cut it, he was guilty of Michael's death. I don't think he intended for it to happen, but he was negligent. He knew it might happen at any time or it might not happen, but you don't take chances. And this is what he did. I think he lied about the 2 minutes. I'm sure he did. but it was much longer than that. Then he was talking to his girlfriends on the phone. This is terrible.
Katherine also described hearing information about Murray from a nurse who came to her home after Michael's death. According to Katherine, the nurse told her things that made her even more suspicious of the doctor and his role in Michael's final days. She described Murray as greedy and accused him of taking advantage of Michael financially. Those were Katherine's beliefs, and they reflected the anger and distrust she felt as she tried to piece together what had happened to her son.
In fact, this nurse that Michael had bought a lot of herbs and things from came to my house the next day after Michael died. And she told me a lot of things about Dr. Murray, and she also told me that Michael had asked her about some things, and she had turned him down. And Dr. Murray, I guess, wanting money and being greedy, he had to be greedy because $150,000 a month? Why didn't he say, well, Michael, if you can't sleep, well, let's go and see a therapist for that. Or let's go and see a doctor that specializes in that. A doctor that specializes in insomnia or whatever. But he never said that. He wanted to take it on his own because he wanted to make money. All the pressure that was on Michael was affecting him for no sleep, but that could have been part of it.
For Katherine Jackson, the trial was never going to be easy. Every piece of testimony meant hearing more details about the final hours of her son's life. Every photograph, every statement, every medical detail forced the family to relive the same nightmare. And yet, Katherine said she believed the jury did the right thing. For the prosecution, it was the legal conclusion to a case built around Murray's medical decisions and his care of Michael. For Katherine, however, a guilty verdict could never change the one fact that mattered most. Michael was still gone.
The trial was pretty hard for me to sit through it. And I was praying that the jury do the right thing, and they did. And I feel pretty good about it. Even though I feel pretty good about the victory, or I should say the guilty, but it still wouldn't bring my son back. I'm still sad.
Katherine Jackson believed Conrad Murray had failed Michael at the moment he needed proper medical care the most. The case centered on the use of powerful anesthetic propofol in Michael's home and the doctor's decisions surrounding Michael's treatment. To Katherine, none of that was simply medical testimony. This was about a son who was supposed to come home and a doctor who was supposed to keep him alive.
It was hard facing him, and I really don't think that he intended what happened to happen, but he knew better. And if he had been there when Michael stopped breathing, Michael would be alive today. And so he's the cause of Michael's death, and I don't think he intended for it to happen, but he was negligent. He was taking a chance, and he knew better.
The prosecution argued that Murray's actions and negligence contributed directly to Michael's death. The defense, meanwhile, presented its own explanation of what happened, but after hearing the evidence, the jury reached its verdict. Conrad Murray was convicted, yet Katherine still couldn't look at that moment as a victory because no courtroom decision could undo what had already happened.
All I know is Michael's gone forever, and in 4 years or 2 years or whatever they give him, he'll be free to walk the streets again. I can't compare. You can't even compare that to somebody's life gone and another man is getting only a few years.
One of the most disturbing moments for Katherine came when she heard a recording made during Michael's final days. The recording had been secretly made by Conrad Murray, and hearing Michael's voice in that condition was deeply upsetting for his mother.
I was really upset when he played that tape because that was way before Michael passed, and I was wondering what was on his mind, what was he planning? So right there I thought, this is not a good man. He's planning something.
How did it make you feel to know that there was a photo presented in court of your son that was exploitive of the situation, but it was also...
Just show him, well, the DA had told us that not to come to court that day because that's what they were going to do. DA told us not to come to court on the day that they showed my son's picture after he had deceased. I thought it was unnecessary to show it because everybody knew he had passed.
After Michael Jackson's death, investigators turned their attention to what happened inside the Carrollwood home on the morning of June 25th. One of the key witnesses was Richard Seneff, a Los Angeles firefighter and paramedic who responded to the emergency call. When Seneff and the emergency team arrived, Michael was in extremely serious condition.
On June 25th, 2009, I was assigned to Fire Station 71. The alarm sound comes on over the system and says 50-year-old male, cardiac arrest, 100 North Carrollwood. As we approached the scene, there were multiple security people, and they were all signaling for us to go upstairs. Walking into the room, one of the first observations that I made was that there was a doctor standing there. The gentleman identified himself as such, and that there were IV pulls and oxygen tanks. This being the middle of the afternoon, very unusual, made me think perhaps this patient has a chronic illness.
In court, Seneff described the condition Michael was in when the emergency team arrived. The medical team began working immediately. There was no time to waste. Everything became about one thing: trying to save his life. The testimony was difficult because it revealed just how serious the situation already was by the time help arrived. The paramedics did what they were trained to do. They attempted to stabilize Michael and continue resuscitation. But despite those efforts, they could not reverse what had happened.
At some point, did you learn that the patient that was on the floor that you were treating was, in fact, Michael Jackson?
I did.
Heron is doing CPR. Describe that for me, please. What you observed.
Standard. He's a big, strong man. He leaned over and started doing chest compressions immediately.
Did you look at the reading on the EKG machine once it was hooked up to Mr. Jackson's chest?
Yes, I did.
What did you see on the screen?
Asystole,
What does that mean?
flatline.
At the point when you administered one round of starter drugs and reported back to base station, was there any change in Mr. Jackson's condition from your time of arrival until you update UCLA with his condition?
No change at all.
And then at a later point in the treatment, after the first round, you are conveying his condition again, correct?
That's correct.
Had there been any change in Mr. Jackson's condition at this point?
No change.
And as the trial continued, jurors heard from more people who were connected to Michael's final hours, including the man who was one of the closest witnesses to what happened that morning. Michael Amir Williams was Michael Jackson's personal assistant, and when he took the witness stand, prosecutors questioned him about the events of June 25th. Williams's testimony helped investigators establish what was happening around Michael in those critical hours. The testimony was especially important because Williams was not a distant observer. He was part of Michael's inner circle. He had responsibilities around the singer and was involved in the events surrounding that morning. As prosecutors continued asking questions, the timeline of the morning began to take shape. Who knew Michael was in trouble? Who was contacted? And when did the people around him realize that something had gone terribly wrong?
As Michael Jackson's personal assistant, what were your responsibilities, Mr. Williams?
I managed day-to-day schedules, arranged, set up phone calls, meetings, planned trips.
Okay.
Anything big to anything small, anything he needed.
Okay. When did you learn of the phone call?
I was getting out and I checked, and I believe calling back at around 12:15 when I got the message.
So you got out of the shower, you saw there was a message.
Yes, sir.
Okay. You heard the message?
Yes, sir. It was Dr. Murray. I can't quote it exactly, but it was, "Call me right away, thank you." Something to that effect.
And were you asked to call 911?
No, sir.
Okay. Did you, upon hearing that message, call Dr. Murray?
Yes, sir.
And were you able to make contact with him?
Yes, sir.
Did he ask you to call 911?
No, sir.
What did he say?
He said, "Where are you?" And I said, "I'm downtown." And he said, "Get here right away. Mr. Jackson had a bad reaction. Get here right away."
Those details may sound small on their own, but in a case like this, minutes matter. Every phone call matters. Every decision matters. And investigators were trying to understand exactly what happened between the moment Michael was found and the moment emergency crews arrived.
I got there when the gurney was coming down. I remember seeing Dr. Murray come down.
And when you say the gurney was coming down, first of all, this is a gurney with Michael Jackson's body on it?
Yes, sir.
Being carried by the paramedics?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And where were they bringing the body down?
Down the stairs that I pointed out earlier.
And where was Conrad Murray at that time?
At that time, I'm not sure, but I remember seeing him down by the ambulance, kind of giving instructions and talking to medics. I don't want to say giving instructions, but, just talking to medics.
All right. And were the children, Prince, Paris, and Blanket, at the location at that time?
Yes, sir.
And as the trial continued, more witnesses were called to explain what they knew. One of those witnesses was Sherilyn Lee, a nurse who had known Michael for years, and her testimony would raise another important question. What if someone had recognized the danger earlier? Sherilyn Lee told the jury about a conversation she had with members of Michael's staff. After hearing about his condition, she urged them to take Michael to a hospital immediately. Her concerns were serious, and her testimony showed that some people around Michael had already recognized that something was wrong.
He was telling Fahim, tell her what's wrong with me. Tell her what's happening with me. That one half of my body is hot and one half of my body is cold. And I was out of state at the time. I was in Florida. So I told Fahim, I don't know what's happening with him. I'm too far away. He needs to just go to the hospital, call 911. I didn't say 911, he just needs to go to the hospital. Because it didn't sound like a lot of distress, he just said one half of my body is hot, one half of my body is cold. So I just told Fahim he needs to take him to the hospital. Someone needs to take him to the hospital, he needs to go to the hospital.
And that's what you told Fahim to do?
I told Fahim that someone needs to take him to the hospital.
But Michael did not make it to a hospital in time. And that became one of the most haunting parts of the entire story. Then came one of the most closely watched pieces of evidence in the trial. The jury heard a recorded police interview with Conrad Murray. For perhaps the first time in the case, jurors were hearing Murray explain the events in his own words. The recording gave investigators another opportunity to examine Murray's version of Michael's final hours. What medications had been given? What was Michael's condition? And what did Murray say he did when the situation began to deteriorate? Those questions were at the heart of the case.
Then he complained. I got to see Dr. Conrad. I have these rehearsals to perform. I must be ready for the show in England. And I told him, I said, if I got the medicine that I gave you, I'll be sleeping until tomorrow evening. A normal person way. You are not normal.
The interview continued as investigators pressed Murray for more details. Every answer mattered, because once Michael Jackson was gone, there was no way to ask him what happened. The only way to reconstruct those final hours was through the people who were there, the evidence left behind, and the records investigators collected afterward.
You said, please get some notes so that I can sleep, because I knew that this is all that really puts for me. I love to push it, it makes me feel my this is great. I said, well, if I'm going to give you an agent that is going to put you to sleep immediately and can be so quick to act, I don't want to ever let you infuse such substance in my present.
While Murray was convicted of involuntary manslaughter on November 7, 2011, Michael was still gone. Millions of people mourned his death, and the man who had spent his entire life entertaining the world suddenly became the subject of memorials, documentaries, investigations, and a criminal trial. But for Katherine Jackson, none of that changed what she had lost. She still missed her son, and that may be the most important part of this entire story, because Michael Jackson was never just the king of pop to Katherine. He was Michael, her child, the person she had loved long before the world knew his name. And no matter how many years pass, that is the part of him she never stopped missing.
I sit in that house sometimes, and I can see Michael running around in it. And when the kids used to go to school, and he was home, and he would find their shoes, even just a little thing, and find those big shoes of Jackie's or somebody's and just walk around in them. You know how little kids like to walk around. And I can see him in my mind's eye and just bring tears to my eyes, because all the kids are here but him. And now that we've coming back, and he's the only one that can't come back. And it hurts inside.
If you want to see more stories like this, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel.